Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Tuesday, January 25th. So today we have the moon in Scorpio. We are building towards our last quarter moon in Scorpio. That definitely pressurizes the situation, that definitely intensifies our feelings, that will kind of put our backs against a wall in order for us to have a huge aha moment, a huge realization, a huge shift in our mental plane, in our emotions to prepare us to move forward. We have 10 different aspects taking place here today. 7 of them involve this deeply passionate, overwhelming, deeply transformative moon in Scorpio. We also have to keep in mind that today, Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, retrogrades back into Capricorn energy. Definitely go ahead, take a listen to the astro event that I put out for this particular energy shift. You can find that in January's energy forecast. So right out of the gate, we have the moon squaring off, creating a tension point with Mercury. Mercury is still in Aquarius at this point. We won't see Mercury shift into Capricorn energy until pretty much the end of today. The moon is our emotions. Mercury is our mental plane. Right now, our heart and our head, we are not in agreement. We do not know what we want. We do not know what we need. There is a pressure for us to figure it out, but also this beautiful energy asking us to surrender, pushing ourselves to find a decision, to find a choice point, and step back and organically let it flow to us. We have to consider the moon in Scorpio is a water sign. What happens with water? It transforms into different states. What happens when we transform into different states? A huge healing takes place in our psyche, in our heart space, and then in our physical reality. So Mercury bumps into Mars, and this is likely going to manifest in a situation in our physical realms that's going to frustrate us just a tad. Mercury, again, still in Aquarian energy, wants to think big, wants to think bright, wants to think about the possibilities of the future. But right now, in a retrograde, we have to give ourselves the time and energy to process all that has transpired. Mercury bumping into Mars, who is just fresh into Capricorn energy. Check that astro event out if you haven't listened to that already. Mars is reeling to go. Mars wants to push forward, but of course, frustrated as hell in this Capricorn energy that we can't just act first and think later. We have to think first, and as long as we are acting in a logical, practical, methodical, calculated, and strategic way in bringing some of our dreams and vision elements to life, then we are permitted to move forward. But right now, we don't even know the direction that we're taking. We don't know the next move. We have this urge, this want, this need, this desire to push forward, but we're being asked to clean up the mess of the past before doing so. This is when the moon squares the sun, giving us our last quarter moon in Scorpio. This is essentially a crisis in our consciousness. This is where we recognize the aha moments that we're having, the revelations, the new connections, the new understanding, the new perspective, when we stop and review all of the situations that have transpired. And we're talking literally, our lives have been shook. Our lives have been deeply, deeply changed only within this past month. So looking back, making the connections, now allowing ourselves to mentally and emotionally process some of the things that we've just been flying by the seat of our pants through, we are having these aha moments that will impact our current moment understanding of the past and impact our future actions and how it is that we're going to move forward. Although we have this overwhelming intensity trying to make us change, trying to make us alter our physical realms, get things in order, get things in balance, and pursue new things, we're actually in a review time, a review energy. Don't push forward, push to clean up the past. Don't push to initiate new things, push to tie up the loose ends of some of the projects, some of the conversations, some of the situations that are just messy, that you would rather not deal with, that need to be dealt with and removed in order to create the space and the energy to actually create the new elements that you now have the desires to bring to life. The moon is going to trine Jupiter. This is a beautiful energy for us because after that particular last quarter moon, we're feeling the pressure. We're feeling the want, need, and desire to grow. But here's the thing, Jupiter is in Piscean energy, asking us to grow spiritually first, asking us to strengthen our intuition, to act as the observer, to see the silver linings and the life lessons that have come out of the pain and struggle that we just endured, that we're trying to make sense of. This is going to be a beautiful cleansing of the soul, a beautiful healing energy when we have these aha moments. And essentially, we're going to see that intense energy pushing us forward to make a change dissipate because we're at peace in the here and now, understanding the work that we have to do, reflecting back in the past in order to calm our souls in this present moment before we can go ahead and take a step on a new path, initiating a new adventure, moving into the future. The moon is going to bump into Neptune, who is also in Pisces, and this is definitely going to open our intuition up to receiving new downloads and informations, these aha moments, this moment of perspective change. This is when we rewrite how the past actually affected us. This is when we look back with rose-colored glasses and then we bitch slap those rose-colored glasses off of our face so that we can actually take a look at the reality, the truth of what actually happened, and absorb that truth on all levels so that we can feel content, making peace with even the not so nice situations that unfolded, because now we understand that they were divinely scripted for our growth, for our evolution, for our life lessons that our soul is here to learn and accumulate. The sun is going to bump into Jupiter. The sun in Aquarius wants us to see where it is that we need to free ourselves, liberate ourselves, be a little bit rebellious, fight for our freedom. And of course, Jupiter wants us to grow. He wants us to expand. He wants us to receive those blessings that we have been praying for. But with this particular energy, this is likely coming from an outside activator, an outside influence that's going to shine a bright light on where it is that we feel held back, where we feel restricted, where we feel frustrated, not being able to grow, not being able to free ourselves, not being able to be independent in the way that we would like. And this is likely going to ruffle up some inner conflict within ourselves and in our personal relationships if we're not careful. To add to that, the moon is going to bump into Chiron, opening up those wounds, especially our ego wounds, especially the ego wounds that have been so deeply written into our identity that we don't know who it is that we are if we had to let some of these ideas, narratives, storylines go. This Chiron energy, although the wounded healer, does give us the wisdom in order to heal the wounds in which we're here to heal. The moon in Scorpio, though, very deep, very probing. We got to move within ourselves. We got to ask ourselves these deep-seated questions. Why do we feel so attached? Why do we feel so confused if we remove an element, an attachment from our physical realm? Why are we so confused on who it is that we would be without this? This is literally stripping our ego away in order for us to strengthen our intuition, our observer and soul self. The moon opposes Uranus. Now, Uranus is creating a lot of confusion within us right now because we don't know what it is that we want, need, and desire. We don't know what it is that's going to provide us with safety and security. We know we have an urge to change. We know we have an urge to fight for our freedom, to fight for our individual wants, needs, and desires, but we don't know how to go about that. We don't even know how to put into words what it is that we're currently fighting for. We just feel that the changes that have happened to us in our physical realms have been so abrupt that we want safety and stability so freaking badly that we're willing to do whatever it is that we have to do to find it, but we actually can't in our mental plane, in our emotions, using our words, put it into perspective. We're a little bit overwhelmed here. We're at odds with what it is that we want, need, and desire. The moon sextiles Venus, who is retrograde, preparing to go direct on the 29th. This is definitely a step up, because when we get overwhelmed with confusion, when we know that we want change, that we want safety, that we want stability, that we want individual freedoms, that's great. But what does that actually mean for you in your physical life? The moon sextiling Venus right now is going to help us define a couple of those points, because we have a new self-worth, a new self-value. We have a new grounding point. We have a new appreciation for those that we want to stick around in our lives. We have a very clean-cut idea on who needs to go. We have a very clear focus on what it is that we're lacking in our personal relationships, what it is that we have to ask for, where it is that we need to create more space and time in our physical realms for love, for happiness, for joy. So we are going to get a little bit ahead here in trying to define and clarify some of the confusing points that were illuminated to us earlier in the day about what it is we actually want for ourselves. And at this particular point, Mercury moves into Capricorn. We put the blinders back on. We become a little bit more focused on the details instead of the bigger picture. We become a little bit more logical and practical and methodical and strategic in what it is that we have to do to get our minds right, so that we can start manifesting the kind of physical elements in our physical realm that are going to support the new aha moments, the new realizations that we have had. We are reviewing, we are re-editing a lot of the plans, the strategy that we had even at the beginning of the year, because believe it or not, this month is almost over. And one would say, where the hell did the time go? And others would say, my goodness, this was the longest year of my life. And it was only 1 month. So we are being very divided. If you haven't listened to this week's Ascension forecast, definitely do that, because I do go into depth on why we're feeling this time warp. And again, I encourage you to check out Mercury retrograding back into Capricorn in January's energy forecast to get the full scope, the full story on what we can expect until Mercury goes direct.